And I believe it's the 5th, right? Y'all remind me? I honestly forget. It's pouring week, so yeah, been a fun, hectic week. Um, what is happening in the war with Iran? Well, very specifically, there have been a lot of major actions that have happened, and there are planned apparently to be many more in order to clear the field, so to speak, and set the ground and the foundations necessary to allow the people on the ground to take charge of the situation on the ground and literally overthrow the IRGC and the mad mullahs that remain in any kind of position of authority. Right? At the moment, you have a situation in which uh, the mullahs and the IRGC are basically losing control of the fight. Right? They're getting their asses whooped on the battlefield. They're being humiliated on the battlefield because every time they try to do something, it's generally a failure. The lies that they claim are usually easily disproven. For example, the claim that the Israelis or Americans were both targeted a school of girls turned out to be not what they said it was. If you haven't seen it, check out the video by Emily Schrader, where she explained very clearly and showed photographic evidence, alleged photographic evidence of the school that the IRGC claims is the school. Again, there have been no outside reporters allowed in to check it out and verify it, and yet the BBC ate it up and repeated that propaganda BS like it was true. If there was a school, it turns out it was on the IRGC base, according to locals who live there. And reportedly, none of the locals have ever sent any kids there. They've never sent their girls to school there. And if there is a school there, it makes you wonder, why is there a school on a military base? Like a school for little girls. Why is there a school there? It's not like an army college or something like that. It's an elementary type school. Right? Why would you have that on a military base of IRGC terrorists? Makes no sense. Maybe there were weapons there. I literally said this during a live stream a few nights ago when people were challenging me on this whole thing because it was all over the news and they were reporting it. They were repeating it as if it was fact. And I told them, you can't take it as fact because it's from the IRGC and we haven't had any verifiable sources. And then they would come back with the, of course, expected stupid trope that, what about Israel and Gaza? To which I would say, yes. And there you believe the Hamas numbers, again, without verifying anything, and you would not believe the IDF numbers. So if you're going to be biased like that and only believe one side, why would you believe the side that is famous or infamous or notorious for lying? That makes no sense. It makes literally no sense. Hold on. Let me check this thing. That's very interesting. What is going on here? Okay. Well, let's see. All right. Okay. What does this say? I don't know what this says. Rania loves what? Farid. I don't know what that means. English or Arabic. I speak English, but on this channel I speak English. I speak a lot of languages. Maybe bits and pieces of some of them. I don't know. But here on this channel I speak English. Usually. Anyway, the point is that you should really take what these so-called news organizations say to anybody with a grain of salt, because they're intentionally lying to you, especially when they are from a terrorist organization like the IRGC, right? It's not some trustworthy news organization or government agency. Right? They are infamous for lying, notorious for lying about things that have been provably demonstrated to be lies, not just Not just because we don't like them. One of the reasons we don't like them is because they're notorious liars and, of course, bad faith actors who literally commit acts of terrorism, okay, which is far worse than just lying, right? And yes, they killed their own people. And yes, they killed allegedly or reportedly up to more than 100,000 people in January. But even if it's only thousands of people, right? How are you excusing that if you've been on the side of blaming Israel for killing thousands of people every month? How are you excusing the government of Iran killing thousands of its own citizens? Like Israel was fighting in Gaza, it wasn't killing its own citizens, right? By the thousands. It was trying to recover 251 hostages, and about 4 of which we know that Israel killed in battle by accident, right? Because they saw a couple of people running out of a building. They weren't sure what was going on. They shot them. Turns out it was Israeli hostages literally running for their lives with their hands up in the air, waving white flags and whatever. Then there's a military investigation into all that because it was done, you know, maliciously or stupidly or whatever. You know, there's consequences for IDF soldiers who do stupid things. Like we have an army that obeys, you know, benchmarks of morality of international warfare, like the Geneva Conventions, you know, NATO, et cetera, et cetera. So, and Israel holds standards that are at least that high or higher in every single regard. You may not believe it, but it's true. And when you are in the IDF, they literally give you a handbook about these things and make you go over it and learn it well for a good chunk of your time in basic training. Make sure you know what this stuff is all about and that you follow the rules, because that is key to Israel doing any fighting. So, what's next? Well, for the past 24 hours, Israel has been hammering away at the IRGC targets and has been basically demolishing what it can. The Israeli Air Force and the U.S. Air Force have been demolishing all that they can. So, U.S. Navy assets, apparently, etc., to get rid of as much of the IRGC as they possibly can from the air in order to enable ground offensives by local Kurdish militia and other militia who have every incentive and every reason to join the fight and overthrow the IRGC. They would love nothing more than that. They need a little bit of extra help. So allegedly, CI is helping them get arms. Obviously, they're not going to arm 93 million people. They don't need to do that. But the Kurds are already pretty well armed relative to many of the people in Iran. So they have quite a lot of battle experience, combat experience, etc. They have some weapons. I'm sure they could use more and better quality weapons and other gear. So that's probably what they're getting. Maybe a little bit of training that goes along with that to make sure they know what they're doing with those new tools at their disposal. And then, you know, once the bombings stop from the air or slow down and are only, you know, limited to much more restricted areas to allow people to go about their daily lives, and also to allow for people on the street to overthrow the actual IRGC, hopefully with the help of some Kurds and some other people who may be armed, then that will happen. And of course, this is all well-known stuff. None of this is like secret stuff. Yeah, this is all stuff that's out there. If you don't, you know, like, I'm not going to share any secrets here, obviously, right? It's fucking YouTube channel. And that's pretty much what we're seeing right now, right? We're seeing the Israeli Air Force and the U.S. Air Force doing as much damage as they can to take out the IRGC's ability to strike at Israel or any of the Persian Gulf states, to make sure that they cannot, that the IRGC cannot remain a threat, and that Israel and the U.S. will somehow not destroy all of their assets, and that they will live to fight another day. And they're in kind of missiles that they have available. They may not be able to fire them tomorrow, which is why Israel specifically, and the U.S. also, has been hammering away so very much at the IRGC assets, specifically their launchers. Right? Because if you take out their launchers, Well, it's really hard to fire missiles when you don't have launchers. Like, the launchers are more important. The missiles are secondary in that they're shooting can only be fired if there are launchers to fire them. If you don't have any launchers, you're not shooting anything, right? You're not doing any damage. So you have to have that. You have to have the first thing in order to do the second thing. And that's kind of my point, right? So that's why the Israelis and the Americans have been nailing those launchers as much as possible in the past hours and days to make sure that they eliminate the threat from the IRGC and the regime in general. Because once you've done that and you secured the land of the region and the theater, then you guaranteed that you're not going to have any kind of ballistic missile threat coming at the people from Iran, right? So that's critical. And that is the thing that will keep the region heading towards a more stable situation, right? As long as you have that, well then, you don't need to worry about the IRGC being any kind of other threat, realistically, to the region, because without the launchers, what do they have? Multiple countries with a fire sale right now. Everything must go. And that's why they're firing all the rockets they can towards Israel and towards countries around the Gulf. Because they don't have anything else. They literally have nothing else, then they have nothing to lose. Because if they lose this one, they're not coming back. The people of Iran will make damn sure that the IRGC does not come back from this loss. Right? They're going to overthrow them, keep them out of power, and that's it. They're done. They're history. They're toast. So that's my little update for you about what's happening in Iran right now on this day, I believe, 6 of the war. Yeah, it is the 5th of March. I was right. Okay, happy March 5th. Stay safe wherever you are. Stay tuned to my channel if you want. Keep bringing you updates about what's happening on the ground in Israel. Go ahead and click the like and the subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Till then, peace. Shalom. Oh, and P.S. If you don't know about it, check out my Zen Tap Talks channel. On Zen Tap Talks, I post videos of like debates I have online with people, etc., and other fun stuff, but mostly that. So check it out, Zen Tap Talks on YouTube, Instagram, whatever, on all the socials. Okay, see you guys. Peace.